We're back. It's the Foolish Optimist. It's Amy McDonald, your host. These are special episodes where we are featuring the people behind the candidates. These are civilians. These are not people running in the elections themselves. But we have a special guest today. Kyle, PhD, is someone that has been supporting people on TikTok for years, plural now. So, Kyle, thank you for being here. Let me tell everyone a little bit about you, and then we'll jump in. Kyle earned his PhD in neuroscience in 2020 and eventually found his way to TikTok in 2024, where his posts about the White Dudes for Harris Zoom fundraiser went viral. After that, he shifted gears to highlighting as many down-ballot Democratic races as possible, resulting in about $100,000 raised just from the online community. Looking ahead, he is anticipating tremendous energy and activity in upcoming elections like the 2026 midterms, and he has already highlighted special elections in which Democrats have greatly outperformed expectations as of July 2025. Kyle, thanks for being here. I'm so glad to have you.
Hey, Amy, it's my pleasure. And yeah, I mean, I came across your work on TikTok. I really admired your initiative. What you're doing with this Foolish Optimist podcast is exactly the kind of work that I felt inspired to do, in the last fall, in the last general election. I think we need just tons more of this. So I'm just thrilled to offer, my personal support to your project.
Well, thank you so much. I mean, I'm really grateful to have you as well. I think it is really special what you're doing on TikTok. I think it is really important to highlight these down ballot races. And, before we go too far, maybe we could start with you explaining what a down ballot race is.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's not a term people are necessarily familiar with, and it's not something I necessarily, paid close attention to before this last fall. But essentially, you could think about a down ballot race as anything that is not like the president of the United States. Whether we're talking as high up as like a U.S. senator or a U.S. House of Representatives member. But it goes really deep because, it could describe, folks that are running for state legislature, your state house and your state
Right.
senate, which are obviously still really important and impactful and in ways that, can be tough for like the general populace to appreciate because we don't usually talk about it, but it's all really important. It's incredible how consequential it is to our lives, and yet how little is widely known about it and how little attention like society pays to it normally.
Well, as we record right now, the Texas State House is in their special session. They're wrapping up to redraw all of the state lines. And something I've learned recently is that Texas's state representatives get paid I think it's like $7,000 to $12,000. It is a very part-time job, even though it is our second largest state in this union. So I feel like we need more people talking about down ballot races, and we need more respect put on the down ballot races, frankly.
100%. And look, I think about it like fantasy football is something that I really love and enjoy as well, right? That's a personal interest.
Yeah.
And there's so many people that are so obsessed with minute details and, small shifts in value of these, minuscule players on NFL teams. Like, what if we could bring just an ounce of that energy and intentionality to, this level of politics, which actually determines so much. Yeah.
It does. It really does. It's local elections. And I'm going to include state elections as local because those are the ones that really get to people. And people forget about them, right? And sometimes they're held in off years. Like for us in New York, we're having our mayor race this year, and we have abysmal turnout for mayor races. It is very sad, and it's because people think it doesn't matter, but it's the thing that affects your life the most. I think it's just one of those things that I can't stop thinking about it. But have you always been into politics, or is this a recent adventure for you?
I would say it's much more a recent adventure, and it really honestly came out of left field, like how things on TikTok can go, like things go viral that you would never expect to. I think often, right, they go viral because you don't intend for it to be constructed in that way. It's just people pick up on something that feels genuine and spontaneous and timely. I just started speaking on TikTok because especially after Biden's debate performance, where everyone basically said like, this guy is cooked. It was really feeling like inevitable that Trump would win the presidency. And I was gravely concerned about that for so many reasons that I'm sure all of us can relate to. So I just felt compelled. I felt like I just need to speak my mind about how bad this is. And if I could reach one person, not even to necessarily, get them to change their vote, but just to understand that this is terribly important and that they should pay attention. I just needed to do that for my conscience.
Yeah.
But when Biden dropped out and Harris came in, there was a surge of excitement. So I got a few more followers at that point, just talking about that. Then when we had these calls, led of course first by Black women coming out to immediately embrace and surround Harris with support.
Yeah.
And then it followed not too long after by white women and,
Yes.
so many other groups, right? I genuinely wanted to know, like, when are the white men going to stand up? So I posted a video to that effect. It went very viral over a weekend. And then there was a very successful event, which I had no part in organizing except for the viral promotion, which happened to coincide with it perfectly. But it was just a recipe for awesome viral impact. And look, despite the fact of how the election went and the state that we're in right now today, which is very scary, it was a tremendous and positively uplifting time to feel that we could change things and just to see how many people, do care about this. So yeah, that brought me into the fold.
That there was a lot of hope back there. And I think there's hope now. I mean, so the reason I started this podcast is because I needed hope, right? I was slipping into like the deep, dark place of like, what the fuck is going on? And then I started seeing all the announcements for 2026. And I was like, oh, okay. This is what we've got to talk to these people, because literally this project was born out of me being like, I need to talk to people who are really excited to run for office and change our country, because I just need that in my own life. So I understand that feeling of I feel like there's a lot of hope in the air right now. I don't know how you feel.
I mean, I'd love to talk about that because I think it's the most profound underlying feeling right now is that I want to acknowledge like the abject terror that a lot of people are living in, and the real consequences, the bad things that have happened and that we know will happen and will continue to. But at the same time, there's this incredible social and cultural response because of that feeling that you're talking about, that I feel as well, that we know that this is wrong and we desperately want to change things. We know that things really could be better. And, maybe we can just relate just for a second about like being, I think we're both millennials and we remember when Obama was first elected.
Yeah.
On the message of hope, like we know that can actually work. I think people maybe of our age, of our experience, like we have that deeply like physically instilled confidence that we just need to get back to that place once more.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and so Obama was the first person I voted for. I voted for him in his first term. And I happened to be at the White House the night they announced he won, like out in front of the White House, because I went to college in DC. And a couple of my friends were like, I'm not going. And I was like, that's totally fine. I'll go by myself. I'm not fucking missing this. And I dragged one friend with me and we smoked weed with these old deadheads. We smoked cigars with these Vietnam vets. We were drinking champagne. And like, as I'm like smoking weed, a lady from CNN comes up and is like, we want to interview you. And I was like, no.
You don't want to.
I was like, no, ma'am, you don't. I was like, I just am really happy, but don't put that camera in my face right now. But
so
I think
funny.
that's what we're seeing in New York right now it's running on hope, and it's running on yourself, right? It's not running on being the opposite of Trump or being the opposite of a Republican, and being you and telling people what you're doing, not what you're not doing.
Yeah. I mean, Mamdani is really remarkable. And I think you raise a good point. I think he very well could be the one politician since Obama at high enough of a level in politics that has really captured that feeling. And it's really incredible because he has, captured that in the language like of our moment, like of our culture, right? Because there are different issues at the forefront today. And frankly, I bought into the hope message, like obviously.
Yeah.
I remember when people were like looking down on it, like looking down their noses at Obama and saying, oh no, like this isn't enough, right? Like, you got to have something like, more substantial. But what I love about Mamdani is that he has run a campaign, which despite all the attempts to personally smear him and make it about his identity,
Yeah.
He's kept it laser focused on the issues, but he's never shied away from owning exactly who he is, but as a matter of fact.
And I'm with you. I fucking love that about him, right?
Yeah.
Like it is so abundantly clear how much the Republicans hate him, obviously, and they were going to hate him. We knew that. But
Yeah.
to watch the amount of money thrown at him against him from Cuomo, and like the people backing Cuomo are Bloomberg, DoorDash. Every mailer I got is paid for by DoorDash. I don't know why. And a couple of other people in there, like Super PAC. And it's exactly what you said, right? Obviously they tried to smear him with questions about Jewish Americans and traveling to Israel. And like, we have 9 million people in this city. He's running for mayor. He should probably stay here. It was like a perfect response. And I agree with you fully. I think it's really fabulous.
I think, man, like the issue with Israel and Gaza is so contentious.
Yeah.
But I feel like culturally, we're at a point now where it was used so much as a cudgel in 2024, you know, by different people for political gain. And it was, I found so much of it so disingenuous because we should center the people who are suffering. It shouldn't be used as a tool for political manipulation. Like, I think that is disgusting. And I think that's generally like what the response has been with the attempts to like smear Mamdani through that lens. It's like, we see how cynical you are. Like, yeah, there are, you know, spaces of nuance that could be something that we contend with, right? If we're approaching it like with credibility and authenticity. But it's so cynical what they're doing. And it is delightful to see that flood of awful money just breaking against him, the surf from the ocean.
It's literally, that's exactly, it's like hitting an immovable object and literally one of the headlines that I saw was the amount of money thrown at the mayoral campaign to back Cuomo is twice as much money as the Democratic National Party has on hand.
That's crazy. That was
in the last like week and a half.
It's so crazy because like they're just trying to save a buck. Like, man, okay, so this could be like a much larger discussion, but I think about also the American institutions that have capitulated to Trump. And it's, you look at the stuff with CBS, like the Paramount Skydance merger.
Yeah.
Like they're all just trying to make a buck and like they don't care about the marching onslaught of fascism.
Columbia and Brown negotiated over the last couple of weeks to get their funding back. And I just have, this is a direct question to any Columbia administrator, any Brown administrator. Do you think they're actually going to give you that money back? And it might happen, and then it might get taken away again. You're negotiating with a fucking terrorist, my dudes. It's crazy. It's absolutely absurd to watch it happen. And like, I commend Costco for standing up, even though last I checked, Costco had 19 different attorneys general. I hate the way that is phrased in English.
I think you got it right. Yeah.
It's attorneys general, but it's 19 different states suing them for their DEI policy, which they renamed to people and communities or some, they renamed it, but they were like, no, it's not just like what we believe. It's actually really good for business, and so it's nice to see some corporations standing up, but a lot are just, I think it mirrors the James Carville sentiment of like, just like roll over and wait for it to end.
Yeah. I keep giving my money to Costco, so I appreciate organization with a backbone. Yeah, for sure.
I'm keeping my eye on their website because I want a beach chair, even though summer's almost over. I'm just too old to sit in the sand anymore.
Oh, of course. Come on. We're grown-ups at this point and we have back pain and joint issues. Yeah.
I live in an apartment and it's like, how often do I use the beach chair? Where is it going to go? I did invest in a really nice beach umbrella last summer. So like, we're slowly getting there, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's an investment. And the thing is at Costco, it's always such a good deal. It's such a good deal. Oh, that's smart. It just comes right with you.
Well, because, we're trained friends in automobiles to like get beach day here in New York.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah. But shifting gears away from the beach.
Yes.
What are some of the races you're like most looking forward to in 25 or 26, actually?
Yeah. Well, I've been, pleasantly surprised by the special elections that we have had until this point. And that's why, I personally cannot and will not tolerate outright doomerism about the virtue of elections.
Yeah.
The fact is, since November, like they have worked and they have made impacts, like winning the Supreme Court seat in Wisconsin.
That's huge.
Super important. Yeah. This is kind of downstream of an election, but in North Carolina, being able to maintain and hold that Supreme Court seat that was won, right? Making sure those votes were counted. Yeah. Shout out to Anderson Clayton, who holds down the North Carolina Democratic Party.
The force. And I love her.
I am a huge fan. She's the best. But in terms of like marquee races in this very year, in November, I think like the top line ones are going to be the governor races in New Jersey and Virginia. So huge. These are huge nationally. They're huge within the state. And when I look at them, I think about the way that New Jersey swung way harder to the right than people ever thought it would in 2024. And so being able to come back and show like how people feel about how the country has gone since then is very important, right?
In less than 12 months. Yeah.
Yeah. And then in Virginia, I think the current governor is a real piece of work. And I would love to see someone who's more accountable to the people and someone more reasonable step up and, be a responsible adult in the room. That would be great.
Horrifying that that's the bar. Well, hey, is your brain fully formed? Are you going to investigate and ask questions and maybe make the best decision based on the answers you receive?
Yeah. Like, can you go on TV and not just outright repeat lies and propaganda? Like, that would be nice.
Yeah. Okay. So you're a neuroscience scientist by trade. Mm-hmm. Let's talk a little bit about propaganda and how we can combat that, because I think our little brains and the way they're working, we need some reminders on how we can either spot propaganda or just avoid it.
Yeah, it is a very important issue. And I would say few things in this arena have discouraged me more than the potent effect of propaganda. I think like we're just, uniquely susceptible to things that sound like they should be true because they align with our current beliefs, right? Related, I guess. I have a similar concern about the rise of like AI, LLM models, feeding people, text and ideas that align with their preconceived notions. As far as combating it, it's incredibly difficult. Maybe I can try to explain like the scope of the problem that I see, right? Yes. The things that we're up against. Like I think about the mass media environment, the wall of disinformation that shapes the context of our information environment. That's how I think about it. And I'm talking about Fox News and like right-wing propaganda on social media, YouTube, Instagram, the site formerly known as Twitter, which I loved long ago.
What a time that was. Twitter's like high life. Woo.
Yeah. That was like where I actually got started, like low key on like social media stuff and having a personality that like people would recognize.
Nice.
Those were my like academic days. But like, I really think a lot about like Fox News as the cornerstone of the right-wing media disinformation, like ecosystem.
It's exactly what it's a fucking ecosystem.
Exactly. At the end of the day, they're pumping tens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars into maintaining this wall of force of disinformation 24/7, like all throughout our country. And I think like that's the message at the end of the day. Like if you saturate every channel with information, even if, pardon my language, even if it's bullshit, some of it will penetrate. And we must find a way to respond. We have to.
It's a numbers game. You're right. It's like when they had they're not still Rupert Murdoch, are they? No, okay.
I mean, Fox News. Yeah.
Okay. I wasn't sure if they had merged with somebody and he sold them when he, bought all of his other ventures. Yeah. But I think when you have that amount of money and you're willing to spend that, I think about it like some of these like super influencers, right? People with like 10, 12 million, 15 million followers, and they've got a team of like 50 people breaking up every podcast episode. And they're like, oh, I put 150 pieces of content out a day. And you're like, oh, that's why I fucking see your shit all the time. Like, I don't want to. I'm like, not interested, but it's still breaking through because you're putting just so much out all the time.
Yeah.
And like just this week, a friend of mine over in Germany sent me a video that Donald Trump posted. It is an AI video of Obama getting arrested in the Oval Office. And
Yeah.
like, it is a good deep fake. Like the look on his face as he's like being fake arrested, it is fake. Everything about this is fake. It's not real. But it gets like the emotion right, which is what
Yeah.
really fucking worries me.
It is AI authoritarianism, to coin a new term.
And like,
I
how
don't
do
know if
you
I could say
pronounce
it
that?
twice. It was tricky.
AI
AI authoritarianism. Probably won't catch on because it's too hard to pronounce.
authoritarianism. Good try.
Yeah.
I like it. I like
Yeah.
it. We'll let the marketers work around that one and see what we get.
Yeah. We'll workshop it. But no, I mean, it is really, this is authoritarianism. It is fascism right in our faces. And like, I know a lot of people are upset, but you know, like we said, there are way too many institutions and just people in our society that are basically like, you know, acquiescent to it, I guess.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, I guess they have material concerns and they're like, well, I mean, I don't want to lose, you know, mine, you know, my little corner of the world, you know, which like I can relate to. We all have that fear, right? But I think there are a lot more people with a lot more power than they really realize. And honestly, it wouldn't take that much if every single person could just do a little bit more, you know, take one more step, do what was within, you know, their power to do something positive.
Yeah. No, that's what it is. And I have this conversation with people all the time, right? Like for me, in a devastating turn of events, I haven't had McDonald's in like 1.5 years, which is, but my last name is McDonald. So I have been eating like, I love McDonald's. And there's one down the street and I was having it like 3 times a week. If I wasn't cooking, I would have McDonald's, you know?
Yeah.
And that's really sad to say and admit on the internet, but fuck it. I don't care.
No,
But like
you're in good company here. It makes me trust you more. Like I understand that. I do.
But like I'm boycotting a bunch of different places and I have the capability to do it because I don't have children. I don't have pets. Like it is very doable for me to boycott Amazon and boycott Starbucks and boycott McDonald's. And I have people that I talk with all the time who are like, we really can't do that because we live here and there's no Walmart and there's no other place to go. And I'm like, yeah, but you don't have to do that, right? Like, if you could, it would be great. But if you can't, you do something else. You find another step that you can take.
Exactly. You know, to reframe what you just said, it's like exercising the willpower that is in your domain to exercise, right? Like that what you're describing is a use of willpower that everyone can relate to, right? And for, you know, not for everybody will it be McDonald's, it'll be something else, but we can all apply that kind of willpower. So I like.
Yeah. And it's just, like you said, it's finding something that is doable and taking it to the next step. There are people constantly telling me, oh, I can't protest. I can't do this because of X, Y, and Z. I'm like, not everyone needs to protest. That might not be a thing you can do today or even 6 months from now, but like there are ways to be involved. And I think that's leaping back exactly why I wanted to start the podcast and exactly why I wanted to talk to you, because I think you're doing good work and somehow balancing it with job and life and everything. So it's inspiring to see all of that.
Yeah, I mean, it's a struggle at the end of the day. Like, you know, I would love to just unveil that, you know, and be transparent. It's really hard. During the election season, I poured vast amounts of energy and time into TikTok because that was by far the most effective medium and channel that I had ever found. And I think at the time and for the moment, it was the best investment that I could have made. And it yielded like huge dividends, right? I feel like my contributions, just like I didn't expect TikTok to be a thing that would take off. You know, I have a feeling for myself, like I might shift gears again and find something different to do that is like my primary drive in the future. Not to say like I'm going away or anything. Yeah. I mean, TikTok might go away, right? Like we have to acknowledge, right? It's fragile because it's powerful, right? And people want to buy that power. So I'm thinking like what is something that I could do that would be powerful and permanent that they could never buy away? Like that is something, and that is also like within my wheelhouse, right? And
Right.
within, my domain of willpower to exercise. So I still am mindful of that. Like if I look at like my journey as someone who like has contributed, who has like done this kind of work, I am still
Okay.
looking at like the next form of work. And, just to make it like more tangible,
Yeah.
I might be interested in like more directly, like helping out certain campaigns at some point, maybe campaigns that are like close enough, that I could do more with the candidates in person. That kind of
Right.
thing. Yeah.
Well, and there's a lot of exciting ones happening in California, obviously. Just realized I don't know if that's a piece of information you share.
No, not necessarily, but I mean, California is really critical. Like that's okay. This is like one of the most mind-boggling things. Like control of Congress, you know, it was on a knife's edge in the last election,
Right.
and it it was essentially, you could say it was decided in California, or that it was decided in New York, right? One of
Yeah.
these like very big blue states with a lot of seats, but where we didn't win enough seats at the margins to tip the overall
Yeah.
scales of balance, right? And so, yeah, I mean, I'll take ownership of like with respect to California. Some of the seats, like they might not be directly by me,
Yeah.
but they're within driving distance. You know,
California's fucking huge. If
yeah,
anyone,
it's
I mean, New York is not as big as California, but like, if from New York City, if you go up and you go west, you can be in the car for a long time.
yeah, yeah,
And then all of a sudden you're in Canada. So, but
yeah,
after being in the car for a really, really long time, if you make a wrong turn, you're like, oh shit, those are the mounties. I
right,
gotta turn back around.
yeah. Well, especially these days, be careful.
Yes, yes, yes. But
Yeah.
they're still actually very nice. I haven't actually,
Well,
I don't know. I haven't
on
seen
the
them in a
Canadian
while.
side of the border, I
Yeah.
imagine. Yeah.
Yeah, fair, true. That was the last time
Yeah.
I ran into the Mounties was in Canada. But I think you're right. I think we've got in the Southeast, we've got a ton of very, very purple states. People on the internet will love to tell you that they're super red, but I'm from North Carolina originally. It's 51-49 every year. It
Mhm.
flips back and forth. And I just found out today that Arkansas was like, what, 53-55% for Trump? Not nearly what he thought he was going to get in Arkansas. And like, of course, Georgia's the same way. A bunch of these states are like that. And then we've got our big Democratic strongholds that did encroach into like there was more conservatism. And I'm wondering what,
Yeah.
again, you as a neuroscientist think is the cause of that. Like how
Well,
do
I just sighed so hard because you tapped on something that's so pivotal. And maybe I'll find a way to relate it back to neuroscience, but
okay,
just like
we
in the
can
big
follow that up
picture,
later.
yeah, there is so much blue energy. Okay, if we're looking at it through a political filter, partisan filter, blue democratic or liberal energy, but frankly, just good people who care, who are empathetic, who are
Right.
the antithesis, what I think of what like Trump represents, about the Republican Party and about the worst instincts of the worst people in this country.
Yeah.
But yeah, a place like Arkansas, you have thousands and thousands of people that would love to see things go differently.
Yeah.
Like I have a really good friend, my buddy Nick in the Bayou, Louisiana,
Right.
who, was a Democratic candidate for state office, and they have a lot of Democrats there. Like you said, North Carolina is like on the knife's edge, and in
Mhm.
Georgia, there's just a terrible amount of voter suppression. So,
Right.
the reason I sighed is it's like, wouldn't it be nice? There's this irony that Republicans think that there's some vast like Democratic conspiracy, like George Soros is secretly funding all these protests and stuff. And I'm like,
I'm still waiting for my check.
for real. And you know what's really fucked up is that like we don't have anything like that apparatus. It is catastrophically disorganized at the national level. Like it
Mhm.
is an utter disgrace. Honestly, forget the outburst of emotion here, but like, people want to blame the DNC like for things falling apart at the national level. Like they're not that plugged in. Like they're not
Right.
organizing things in Arkansas. We don't have anybody really. There are local people in Arkansas. Don't get me wrong,
Right. Right. Of course.
amazing people, but
Yeah.
we don't actually have like a comprehensive national body that's organizing things from Cali to Arkansas to New York. Like
Mhm.
And,
Well, and you have to remember the RNC is not doing it either. The people that are doing this is the Heritage Foundation. And the big difference that I see between the Democrats and the Republicans is that Democrats are issue focused, right? So
Mhm.
like one issue focused, and that's what you fight for. Whereas the Republicans are like, this is our, and it's not even the Republicans, it is MAGA. It is a completely different thing than what I would consider Republicans that I know. But they're like, this is our platform. You don't have to believe everything on the platform, but if you're hitting 50% or more, join us. We don't really care where you stand on the other issues. And then there's this like weird game of purity politics. We don't have the organization. We don't have a counter to the Heritage Foundation, but we also keep doing the same shit over and over again.
Mhm.
Let's go spend another 10 million in Ohio when we've got races in Arkansas that don't have anybody else running, right?
Mhm.
But we know
Yep.
the numbers are there. It's driving me. I feel like I'm banging my head against the wall, frankly.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't know. But
Oh,
it's happening everywhere. Like,
exactly.
I interviewed someone in Alabama who was the first person to run on the Democratic ticket in over 25 years.
Was it Rod
And
Smith by any chance?
no,
No.
every Democrat that's running in Alabama this year is like the smallest time frame I've seen is 15 years. The biggest one is like 35 years. Like, they're all in there. And I'm so
Yeah.
grateful that they're jumping in. But shit, dude, why aren't we giving people choices?
Yeah. Exactly. And like, I think that's maybe a perfect illustration of the dichotomy of our moment. Like,
Yeah.
all the challenges that we face. Okay, I saw it go from present to gone. Okay.
Yeah.
It's just, I think this is like a perfect illustration of our present moment because in spite of all the challenges we face, the chaos, the disorganization, and, the ongoing march of authoritarianism and voter suppression, look at these folks in Alabama stepping up to run for these seats that haven't been contested in 10, 15, 20 years. Not because they have George Soros, not because they have a national body backing them. I think the opposite in many cases, just because there's, a total lack of investment in these things. They're doing it because they care. And so many of us feel this way. And we're all popping up as like these independent sprouts in different places across the
Yeah.
country. Like, that's amazing. And it's very scary because we need it. We need it very quickly,
Right.
but it's fantastic potential.
Yes. And I agree with you. And it's great that everything's happening. We just have to find a way to merge everybody into one. And like, there's part of it that is obviously like the left has a really big tent and certain people believe certain things and they're damn near militant about who we let in and things like that.
Mhm.
And who's under the tent, right? I got a little bit of heat the other day because I said I wasn't a leftist. And I was like, I don't consider myself one. I really
Yeah.
don't, I was like, I think the foolish optimist is named after a Franklin Roosevelt quote. Like, I think
Oh,
I'm a Franklin Roosevelt Democrat, which means I'm probably more like a modern day democratic socialist-ish, right? Like, I believe the government has to step in and take care of its citizens. I think that is its job, its duty. And if industry is running amok, then we need to shut it the fuck down. Like, that's what I
yeah.
believe.
Yep.
But I don't know. And I got some serious flack.
Yeah. I mean, it's
A lot of, and like
difficult
a lot
if
of like
we,
little sad faces. People were, I'm not even angry. I'm sad. And I was like, Jesus Christ.
yeah. I mean, it's a tricky thing because while for many people, identifying under an ideology is effective and inspiring, and it helps them feel connected to people and organized, there are many, many, many more people, I would say, in our society that do not identify with that. And look, it could be in part due to a lack of like profound understanding of what that label means. They could just be put
Yeah.
off by a label. They're like, I'm not a person with a label. Like, I'm just a guy. I'm just a person in our society, right?
Right.
But I want to support people who want to do good things. I think there are a lot of people that would resonate with that. And
Mhm.
so I don't know if I would necessarily like label myself as a leftist either.
Yeah.
Like, I would probably be voting for like the vast majority of the same candidates as someone with leftist leanings. There could be some differences, but
Right.
I would say I'm primarily concerned with a pragmatic response to the perils that the world has presented to us, right? Like I'm a
Yeah.
survival Democrat. It's- I want to, I want to live. I want to make sure you live and
Right.
our families and my sister's children. I don't have children yet, but I'm worried about the children in our country and their future, you know?
Yeah. Same. No, I mean, I think that's like that to me, that's the ball game. The kids
Yeah.
are the ball game. And we have
Yeah.
people all over this country screaming about children
Hmm.
who then turn around and turn their back on children. And it makes me it's like one of those things that I'm like, if I was in a cartoon right now, if I think about it too long, I was like, I think I would have smoke and steam coming out of my ear. Like
Hmm.
it makes me so angry that I like can't talk to people for a little bit or I'm just going to explode when I think about
Yeah.
it for too long. Um, I am not a survivalist Democrat. I am like I want to expand the Supreme Court Democrat. I want to change the way the Supreme Court works, right? My idea is that we get it to have 13 Supreme Court
Yeah.
justices, which is our district courts, right?
Yeah. So let me be clear. I think a survivalist Democrat would say that is a pragmatic reality in
Okay.
today's political climate. Yeah. I would say we do what it takes, that is necessary to survive. If that means expand the Supreme Court, probably yes. If it means
Yeah.
gerrymander California in response to the BS in Texas, probably yes.
Yes.
That's the kind of
Well,
survival
so
pragmatic. Yeah.
here's my Supreme Court thought. I want
Okay.
13 justices, and
Hmm.
then I want 9 picked every time we have 9 out of the 13 get picked every time. So you have no idea who you're going up against. So you can't fucking rig the goddamn system because that's what's happening right now. And it is, we've had these like trigger cases waiting and ready for a 5-4 decision. And oddly, surprised, like Amy Coney Barrett falls into the Marjorie Taylor Greene category of being like right a couple times a day because she is actually
Hmm.
a constitutionalist, which is just blew my mind. I was like, oh, hello.
Yeah.
Didn't expect that from you, but it's only happened like twice.
Yeah. I mean, I think some of them thinking of like I guess the 6 on the court who are right wing, some of them have the capability of, finding their conscience every once in a while. But at the end, I just think every single one of them has bowed down to right wing pressure
Yeah.
at the end of the day. And
I don't
they're
even think it's the
acquiescing.
conscience. I think it's every now and again the Constitution screams at them. Like it's literally the Constitution's like,
Maybe I'm more
hey, bitch.
cynical than you. Yeah. I mean, I like the way that you put it. Like my feeling is like, I already take it for granted that I don't think they really care about that anymore. Like that's
Uh,
how I feel. I think
I
like
got you.
they take personal privileges with their position. They say that like, I am the, sole authority on my personal interpretation of what the Constitution
Yeah.
should say, regardless of what it does say. Like that, I feel cynical in that regard, I guess.
I think you're not wrong.
Yeah.
I just listened to my first Supreme Court case, oral arguments, which like for anyone who's not an attorney here, I don't know if I would tell you to subject yourself to it, but I'm not an attorney. I don't know what happened. It came over me. I just wanted to listen to the Obergefell v. Hodges argument.
Hmm.
And I was just like, "Ugh." A lot of weird shit in that. And now I feel like I have a new special interest and I might just be listening to all these different Supreme Court cases over the
Hmm.
years and I don't know why. I just think it's like understanding how different Supreme Court justices go about their job to me is odd and it doesn't suit the time that we're in.
Yep.
Like, what do you mean you think the founding fathers would have said this? Like, what do you mean that you think that's what that's the meaning that we should be like, no, read the words.
Yeah.
And what are the words?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think like as a scientist, by training, right? That's one of the things where I feel like everything must be evidence-based, right?
Yeah.
Not just speculative. In my personal time, of course, I speculate. I'm a human being. But when it comes to your job, especially when you're at the highest level of the judiciary, like,
Yeah.
man, and you're supposed to have respect for the law, the letter of the law at that point. And I
Yeah.
feel like they've just shown profound, outrageous disrespect. They're rewriting the rules as they go.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing to behold, frankly,
Yeah.
to like what
Yeah.
and of course we've got Supreme Court justices who like we know Clarence Thomas. We know. I don't know how people kind of like just exist in this world knowing that the Supreme Court is doing its job and Clarence Thomas's house was bought for him by someone on the far right. Like
Yeah.
I can't get past it. I cannot hide like it is stuck in my brain and it's something I think about like twice a day, maybe 3 times a day.
Yeah.
But it's kind of in the same vein of like Trump calling Abbott and saying, hey, redistrict, right? Like
Yeah.
nobody is saying it didn't happen. We're just accepting that it did and that's normal, which might be why I feel like my brain's breaking.
Yeah. And look, I try to identify as a positive person and bring a positive perspective when I present myself online because I think there's so much negativity.
Yeah.
I just want to acknowledge that because I want to, when we wrap this up, like I want to make sure
Yeah.
we end on a
On a
positive
good
note for
high
the
note.
folks.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I do want to confess to you and to whoever is listening, the decay and the takeover of the judiciary is maybe the thing that has made me feel the most despair, like in these
Yes.
last 6 months. There have been a
Yes.
lot of bad things, but to see that the judiciary has actually been one of the last and most effective
Mm.
lines of resistance, even if it's because of a cultural and social expectation that even if they defy court orders, everyone knows by default that's wrong. I
Yeah.
think that matters a lot. So I
Yeah.
think that can't be taken for granted. And the fact that like they appointed this Emil Bove guy to the third court of appeals, this guy who like flouted the laws, right? And just
Yeah.
outright said like he would just disobey court orders. Now he's going to be a judge. That is what makes me feel profound despair because that is actually how I think this country, would die, right? If it comes to that, that would actually
Yeah.
be the death of democracy is to take over the courts. And look, it won't happen overnight, even though the Supreme
No.
Court is so messed up. It goes judge by judge, but everyone that we lose is another
Is
cut,
another one
right?
that we have to it's death by a
Yeah,
thousand cuts. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I know. Well, and people, you know, this has been like a long-standing project of the Heritage Foundation, among other people, right? So this is like when we talk about things that happened during our childhood, No Child Left Behind, starting to like teach more for tests rather than critical understanding and critical thinking and less about civics and history. That lends itself to the fact that now people our age and younger don't have the depth of knowledge that maybe our parents did when they were our age, or maybe our grandparents when they were our age. And it's the compounding effects of things happening year over year over year and continuously
Mhm.
happening is that thing, like you said, death by a thousand cuts. That's the thing that'll get us.
Yeah. And like that really taps into the thing I mentioned to you earlier about being someone who like voted for Obama and saw that that works. Like having the instilled, like matter of fact confidence that like democracy can work and can be effective. Like obviously a lot of things have to line up in the right way, but like there are so many people who just never got to experience that. And like,
Yeah.
I don't want to make excuses for people who like voted for Trump or for who didn't vote in the last election. Like that
Right.
just flat out sucks. I'm not making excuses for that. At the same time, I understand the challenge it presents that they have never had a reason to really feel that they can personally relate to and trust the
Affect
government.
change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And affect change. Yeah.
Well, so this leans into my next question, actually, right? Again, this is more of a neuroscience question because
Okay.
there are we see a lot of nihilists, right? You and
Mhm.
I call myself I'm like a pragmatist with like an idealist rising, right? Like I
Mhm.
am very hopeful and I do believe that like when you have hope and you take action or you take action and the hope follows along, things change. That is something I have to believe in. But at
Yeah.
the same time, I'm like more concise. The full quote that I stole this title of the podcast from is only a foolish optimist would disregard the severity of our current situation, right? But like, I am the foolish optimist, but I
Yeah.
understand the severity, but I understand that you and I both know that hope is
Yeah.
there and that we can take action and we can change things. But
Yeah.
how do we get the people who haven't experienced the hope and the action in action? Jesus, that was the hope and the action
Yeah.
in practice. How do we get them to understand it's possible?
No, I'm totally with you. I'm totally with you. And again, you've asked brilliant questions. I can tell because I hear myself with these heavy, deep sighs. I think about what my wife said. She's like, you just
I can't
sighed.
hear your sighs, so this is a good thing. We'll
Okay.
see how it pulls through in post. You know,
The microphone has an emotional protective filter. So you're not afflicted.
like it knows.
Yeah, look, I really think there might be a lot of ways to respond to this, but one that I think is easily very critical is having a direct personal social connection
Yeah,
that makes these ideas tangible and meaningful and real, right? It's one thing to hear about a policy. I'm thinking about all the things that people said about in campaign ads last year, like basically,
yeah,
lies that were presented by Trump against Kamala. It could be easy to just dismiss that and just let it go and be like, oh yeah, maybe she isn't that good for the economy. And I don't really care about the social issues because they won't affect me.
right.
But what if you know someone that, you care about,
Yeah,
or even just someone that you meet on the street, somebody that you work with or a neighbor, where you're like, maybe we're not the closest of friends, but I give a damn. I give a damn
right,
about that person. They seem like a decent person and they will be impacted. They will be hurt. They will be harmed materially by this decision that we're about to make, right? That it
right.
feels like the country is like sleepwalking into. I think it's a real problem in this country that a lot of people feel so disconnected from people who will be negatively impacted. It's not that maybe I'm too optimistic, but I genuinely believe that if they were more plugged in to more diverse communities,
Yeah,
diverse in every sense of the word, people that live in different areas, people that come from different backgrounds, have different sexual orientations, people with different ethnic backgrounds,
yeah.
there would be a lot more empathy and sympathy. We see, I think, just a profound level of alienation across our society. And I think that just leads to this like moral decay where people say, it doesn't matter, you know?
And this goes back to that compounding interest, right? As
Mhm.
we watched the working class and the middle class kind of get destroyed and all be pushed back into this like gig worker era where people are working 2 to 3 jobs to survive. I talk about this a lot, and people don't believe my theory, but this is my theory. I think as we lost the ability to have any sort of leisure time, that's how we lose this community, right? And leisure time can be anything, right? Doctors say, and you can prove me wrong on this, you're a doctor, not the type, you're a neuroscientist, you could,
Not a
right?
medical
But
doctor, but yeah,
not
yeah,
a
I'm with
medical
you. I'm with
doctor,
you.
but
I'm
you're
with
in
you.
the
I'm with
brains.
you. Yeah.
But doctors say even reading fiction books give
Mhm.
you empathy that you didn't have before because you're able to put
Mhm.
yourself into somebody else's shoes. But when we have more leisure time and there is a strong middle class and people can even, we're talking about driving 5-10 hours up to the Canadian border from New York City. You experience so much just even, maybe you don't even cross into Canada. Just that fucking drive, you will
Mhm.
meet so many people that are different than you, and you will see people that live differently than you, and you will have experiences that you would never have if you never left, like where I live, in Brooklyn. Like it
Mhm.
is just and so when we don't have any of that free time to do anything, whether it's reading a book and talking about it with your friends or taking a 5-hour drive, north, west,
Yeah.
whatever, I think that is part of where the erosion of this empathy and sympathy really comes from. And I'm
Yeah.
trying to brainstorm how to fix it.
Yeah.
Any thoughts?
Well, I'm right there with you. I mean, my reaction is, to kind of synthesize what you were getting at and to expand. One of the deep instincts that I felt about this last election that really bothered me is like people are bruised and battered by, generally speaking, the capitalist structured society that we live in, right? And I just
Right.
mean the reality that like we're all struggling, to find a way, to make a few dollars and be able
Hmm.
to afford all the basic necessities that you need to have a
Yeah.
life where you could even begin to imagine, a sense of leisure and,
Right.
maybe introspection or imagination about other people's lives. Like, but the thing that really, really fucked me up is that, we're all bruised and battered by this. And we voted for the one guy that would pour gasoline on that dumpster fire, because of the propaganda that persuaded them to feel that, I don't know, that Kamala wouldn't change things enough. They're like, no, we need a change. But all of us that saw what was coming were like, yeah, it'll be a change. It'll be a really big, bad
I'm
change.
gonna like it.
Yeah. It'll be a larger magnitude change, just in the complete wrong direction. And it'll exacerbate all these issues. So I don't know that I have an answer. I mean, people have to get burned by this who didn't believe it to come around.
I think you're right.
You know, on a slightly different, you know, gear, I'm glad that you mentioned like fiction, because one of my other big personal interests, which I warned you about, is D&D, which is all about play pretend, right?
Yeah.
You know, often among grown-ups, or at least that's how I came into it. Like, it's a game, like maybe, well, that a lot of kids play, right? But I never played it as a kid. I got into it much later in life. And it's been incredibly like enriching. It's been a really meaningful way to connect, you know, for me with like friends, you know, that I knew when I was younger, like friends from middle school, high school. Yeah.
Well, and it's that same thing, like, especially, I mean, every single early educator will tell you the imagination and the playtime that comes with something that is a D&D situation is so, and you know this because you're a fucking neuroscientist, but it's so good for your brain. It's so good. And it's like enriching to your soul as well, which you'll be able to feel as a human who does it. But like, I don't know if they're tracking how our souls get enriched just yet. I'm sure we'll get a notification here soon from Apple being like, soul enrichment, a mere $7.99 a month forever.
I'd say soul ether is hard to get a quantitative measure on, but that sounds like something out of D&D that you would measure that. But yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You're like, now we add a little green line. It's going up. We're going up. I have no idea how you play D&D. I'm imagining
you could play it that way.
Yeah, sure. I'm imagining it as like a board, not like I know you play on. Do you play on
I like it like a. So I with my friends usually like we play over Discord, so it's like a group like call, a group video call essentially.
Interesting.
Just because we live in different places right now. I have a friend who's on the East Coast.
But sorry, this is a dumb question, but obviously, clearly, you're in different locations, so you don't have to be in the same location.
Yeah.
But is it an internet game?
It can be, and I would love to talk about this. I might even prefer to talk about this, you know, more than politics, except for that politics is necessary. D&D is maybe a luxury. But no, so you can play just in the realm of imagination if you want to. They call this theater of the mind. So this is my preferred way to play. You don't need equipment. All you need basically is a way to track information about your character, usually what we call character sheets. So like, you know, you'll have that open on a website, you know, to the side. They have like digital, you know, forms you can fill out that makes it easier. If we want to get more like ticky-tacky, like something that I've come up for my group that has made it way easier is like in PowerPoint, I will just go in and I will set up like a scenario if we're having a big battle. If you have a lot of characters and, you know, enemies, you know, foes and villains, you want to keep track of all these different things. It's just hard to do that all in working memory.
Yeah. So no, I mean, especially if you have like a big game, like a lot of people and, I would lose my, I'd be like, I'm like scribbling and I'm like,
yeah, no, exactly. And, you know, everyone has a different preferred way to do it. They have digital tools that are specifically designed to make it easier to track your characters and move them around and do measurements and, you know, add little effects for when you cast a spell. I guess, you know, I take kind of a minimalist approach. But if we get my whole group together in person, as we've done a couple times, like up in Portland where we all grew up, then, you know, we can put character like little figurines down on a table, you know, have a physical space we can interact with. Like that's awesome, but we just don't always get that opportunity.
No, but it's cool though that you can do. Yeah. And are you meeting with them like once a month, once a week?
I am so happy that they have such an appetite for it. We have been maybe doing like every other week, maybe like since November. Yeah. I know we're talking about this a lot, but like honestly, it was one of the things that pulled me out of my depression after November. And I wonder
think it's a bad thing to talk about. I think it is like, this is a great way to keep in community with people. like for people who don't feel like they have a community near them,
Yeah.
like this is a way to talk to people every other week and catch up and play this game. And then I think it's a really great addition to this episode.
Yeah. Yeah. Because, I think one of the worst feelings of this time since that election was just the feeling that, the world was going to shit and that nobody cared, you know?
Mhm.
And I know people care, like all the people I met on TikTok, I knew they cared, obviously.
Right.
And I appreciated how much emotion they invested in me. But it's another thing to feel like people in your day to day life, and people that you have, pre-existing social bonds with, to
Yeah.
feel that they don't care. So D&D was the vehicle for me to connect with friends that I had known since I was younger, that we had this like rapport with, just to get together and show that we care about each other, right? And build community at the end of the
Yeah.
day. And yeah, that's been a major focus for me since November, in parallel to the, more activist oriented work that I did. So for me personally, that is just, that's essential.
Well, and I think something that people do forget is that like the antidote to this anxiety and despair that sometimes we feel, and anyone can fall into it. You can be the happiest person that there is, that exists. And like, it's just something that can happen from time to time. But the antidote is always going to be taking action and finding community. And that can be D&D, that can be in your community. And it can literally just be phoning a fucking friend. Like,
Yeah.
Who wants to be a millionaire, picking up the phone, which sometimes when you're in the shit and you're in the dark depths, that feels like the hardest thing in the world. And I swear to God, if you call somebody and they don't pick up, call someone else, try again, do it again.
Yeah.
And I know it's hard because I've been there where I'm like trying to call the one person that I know will make me laugh. And like, they're in a meeting because we all have jobs. And I'm just like, oh, no one cares. But it's like 3 p.m. on a Tuesday. And you're like, no, you got to try somebody else. Just keep doing it until you find the community that you need or you want. Because that to me is like, that's the truth.
For sure. I think that is such an important point to make, because I'm going to go out on a limb and say that whoever is listening to this, like, even if you feel that nobody cares, there are bound to be more people in your life than you realize who maybe you're not in the practice of talking to them about really personal stuff, but they give a damn about you. Like, people give a damn about other people. You just got to find the people that you can trust and take advantage of that opportunity, because it's wonderful.
It is. I think that might be a pretty happy note to end on. So maybe you can tell everybody where to find you and how they can support your favorite candidates. Maybe you can run through those candidates you really like again, and then obviously where they can follow you as well. And I'll put all this in the notes, but
For sure. Yeah. So most people have found me and follow me on TikTok, where I am at Kylei PhD, KYLEI PhD. I'm also posting a lot more on Blue Sky these days. So if you're over there, I'm at the same handle, Kylei PhD. I am currently looking for more candidates to support. So I don't have a particular race that I'm championing at this very moment, because I'm looking ahead to the bigger elections that are coming, but not looking ahead all the way just to midterms. Obviously, those are important, but looking at like special elections this very year. And they're going to be coming up like sooner than we realize. Like, we're going into August, like we're just a couple months away. So I feel like we're in a bit of a lull period, but we're getting very close to this space where people will have a real tangible electoral outcome to focus on again. And I know from personal experience how motivating that is. So yeah, would love to connect with folks. And thank you so much, Amy. I love the work that you're doing. This has been a wonderful conversation.
I'm so grateful we were able to have this conversation. I told you I was going to pepper you with neuroscience questions, and I appreciate your time and your energy and all the things that you're doing. So thank you so much. And obviously, guys, I'll write down all of those handles and stuff for you to follow him on in the show notes. If you've made it this far, thank you so much. Thank you for following The Foolish Optimist. You can follow us on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts, pretty much. We're going to be dropping new episodes every Wednesday, and you can watch the video episodes on YouTube. If you would like to, please give us a review, leave comments. You can also email us at thefoolishoptimistpodcast@gmail.com. If you see any really great candidates that I should be talking to, send them my way. Thank you.